Let's take a half-day hike on the Appalachian Trail. I'm trying to document small sections of this trail for this channel. Longer sections may be possible for me in the future, but I often don't have more than a half or a full day to hike and not do overnight. But there's a lot to see on these shorter sections if you pick the right section. So I try to do that and find sections that I think will have scenic rewards for your efforts. We're in New Jersey, in the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, and I just started at Camp Mohican Road, I think this is called. It's a dead-end road, goes to AM. The Appalachian Mountain Club has Camp Mohican right up here. There's the sign for it. So we're at mile 1299. According to the Appalachian Trail Conference's, the ATC's online map. I know there's been discrepancies between what their miles are and the miles that other people are recording, so take that for what it's worth. That's what it said on their map. And we're going to be heading southbound on the Appalachian Trail towards the Delaware Water Gap itself, but not to the gap. My goal today is to get up on Mount Mohican, which is only a few hundred feet higher than where we're standing here. But there's supposed to be a lot of views up there. So that's about 2.5 miles out. There's some side trails in this area too that I might explore if time allows. I've got about 5 hours available today. It's a cool morning in March here. It's in the upper 30s right now. It's supposed to be a sunny day though, and highs around 60. Should be great hiking weather. It's a great time of year. The humidity isn't here yet. The bugs aren't here yet. But the clear blue skies are. Oh, about a half mile up the mountain here. We're getting some views. I had to come off trail through some pretty thick brambles of mostly bare oak, which is an oak tree that stays in a shrub form. It's covering this hillside here, to get to a lookout. I'm sure the trail must get near the lookout somewhere along this ridge. I know it does, but I didn't want to wait too long to get a lookout. So I came off trail just 100 feet maybe. But it's definitely, you have to scramble through this. So let's go see what we can see. Okay. Okay, yeah, there's plenty of open ledge here if you don't mind a little bushwhacking. This is southeast facing, so it feels pretty warm right here now. We're looking southwest towards eastern Pennsylvania, I believe. Way back there, I see some kind of a power plant. And then, speaking of power, there's a pumped storage hydroelectric plant that we're going to come closer to as we hike today. And the lower storage part of it, where the water ends up after it's been run through the hydro plant, is in front of us here. This is the lower Yards Creek Reservoir. And about 700 feet higher than that reservoir is the upper Yards Creek Reservoir. And we'll talk more about pumped storage when we get there. But they're both visible from the trail. And then I took a compass bearing here. Other hikers have said you can see it. I wouldn't have noticed it if they hadn't have told me to look, but you can see the skyline in New York City from here at about 100 degrees bearing on your compass, if you have a compass. And that's magnetic bearing. I'm not sure what the declination is in this part of New Jersey. If you set your compass for 100 degrees magnetic, there's another mountain between us and New York City, and I don't believe it's going to come out in this video at all, but I can faintly see the skyscrapers of Manhattan over the top of that ridge. I did a hike not too far from here, a little closer to New York City last year at this time, near Greenwood Lake, and we got the same view, and they were easier to see from that closer vantage. Well, you sure can hear the geese this morning. They've been flying kind of north right now. I don't know if that's a sign of spring or not. Probably is. More open water each day with the warmer temperatures. There's a whole bunch of deer up on this mountain. I tried to get in closer to them, and they kind of fleeted away, but not very far. So they're back there. Let's take a look at what they've been chewing on, though. Where they love maple buds. It was a red maple bud. You can tell the red new growth on that red maple tree. And it's got opposite branching like the other maples. But this has all been gnawed away by the sharp teeth of those white-tailed deer. So now it takes a lot of maple buds and other buds to keep a deer nourished. So this is a tough time of year for them until things really green up. So they're probably moving around more for that reason, just to find more browse. I'll try to record some if I can find a group of them that aren't quite so shy, but these ones keep darting off as soon as I get close enough to record them. Some really nice open woods occasionally along this trail. A lot of it is what we saw a few minutes ago with the blueberry and bare oak, but this is wide open woods here, and it's not that rocky right here either. So I just thought it looked kind of pretty the way the sun was coming through. Let's just see what's here, and then we'll get back on the trail. But most of this is not steep. None of it's steep at this point. Moderately rocky, but compared to Pennsylvania, this is pretty tame. Beautiful open, lot of hickory back here, some oak. And more views of these reservoirs. Mostly ice-free, at least partially ice-free. All right, about 1.6 miles from the start of this southbound section at Camp Mohican Road. We come to an advertised overlook on the ATC's digital map, and sure enough it looks like we have one here. So I went scrambling over looking for that one about a half mile ago just because I didn't want to wait that long to see a good view. But this is definitely a good view you don't have to go off trail to get. We'll see more of these reservoirs here. Yeah, that's a nice one here. Let's take a look around. So the peak in the background there, that's a bend in the ridge here. The Appalachian Trail does not go over it. That bend in the ridge, I don't have the name of it on any of the maps I printed off, but I can look it up and then mention it when we see it again at the next overlook. So yes, between that knob and the ridge we're standing on is the Upper Yards Creek Reservoir, which I think we can see from our turnaround point on Mount Mohican today. And The water is pumped up to there and then runs through a power plant turbine on its way down to these lower reservoirs. These are great sweeping views here, folks. This is not big elevation gain. This is not, you know, huge mountains, but it's very, very nice. They're all folded nice and even. Nothing real jagged around here, at least the shape of the mountains. The rocks can be quite jagged, especially in Pennsylvania. That's a beautiful little overlook here. Great place to take a break. Really get at least a 180-degree view here. Yes, between 1.5 and 2 miles southbound on this trail, the scenery gets much more interesting. It was okay the first mile. Just, I couldn't seem like the trail ever got near the viewpoints that were showing up on the satellite view. That's why I went looking for them. But here, they're right here. And the woods are more open. It's not as scraggly. Just a more pleasant hiking experience. Yeah, you don't have to go too far anywhere to get this same, kind of like the grassy meadows with these beautiful gnarled and twisted, mostly hickory trees on this part of the mountain. And then these lakes. Well, we're very close to our turnaround point, which is Mount Mohican. I think it's 1,580 feet. And the Delaware River down below us here is like 300 feet, maybe even less than that. So there are trails that come up from down there. If you want to do a longer, more, feel like you actually climb the mountain instead of following the ridge, that would be great. I didn't have time to do that today. You can see the Delaware River right there, and Pennsylvania is on the left or west side of that. But the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area is on both sides, from the Delaware Water Gap itself near Stroudsburg all the way up to the area around Port Jervis, New York, Milford, Pennsylvania. So lots of trails, lots of hiking to be done in this area. I haven't done that much of it. I'd like to do more. I'm often in this area visiting extended families, so it's just a question of the days I have time and the weather. But let's take a look at the top of Mount Mohican. There's supposed to be a large pile of rocks up there. We can get some more views. We've been gradually ascending for about a half mile here. The views have been continuous for almost a mile now. So I started this hike, it was pleasant enough, but it wasn't real scenic. I'm thinking, well, maybe I didn't pick the right section of trail to document. And then once I got to that, what's called the Yards Creek Overlook, it's been views the whole way for winter time. Leafless season. Come up here in the leafless season, you'll be glad you did. Or when the leaves are gold. Hickory trees often get a gold color. So a lot of that last mile was hickory forest. It would be quite pretty in mid to late October. Often the oaks on these ridges don't get good color. Unless it's a scarlet oak, you don't get a lot of color. So let's take a look here. I'll try to zoom in on some landmarks. The river itself is clearly visible. Right there. I think that's all pretty easy canoeing, paddling, and there's campsites where you can stay on the stretch from Milford, PA down to around Stroudsburg. And then I think the rapids kick in again. And the upper Delaware upstream from Port Jervis, New York has rapids. They rent boats up there. It's not life. You can take your own boat through there if you're skilled enough. So the Delaware River provides incredible recreational opportunities to tens of millions of people within, a few hours drive of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York City, and Western Connecticut. Okay. High Point State Park is in the center of the screen. It's a little blurry, but there's a large stone tower there. That mountain you see right there is the Shawangunk Mountains in New York. I recorded the north end of that last fall at the Mohonk Preserve, Bonteque Crag area. And I don't think it's going to turn out, but you can see the Catskill Mountains in the background there today with my eyes. This is 10x zoom. It's the best I can do. And those mountains are almost 4,000 feet high and stand up above the plateau that's about 1,500 feet high in the foreground here. So that's a clear day when you can see the Catskills from this far away. It's probably 80, 90 miles away. And that view of New York City was really hard to make out. But I think as the sun moves over the sky today and it's not backlit, those buildings would become more visible. But bring your binoculars if you have them. You're going to be, on a clear day, you're going to be able to see a lot from up here. Okay, I'm going to put the wraps on this hike. I have some commitments in a few hours that I need to get to, so I won't do much recording on the way back. I'm probably going to take the Kaiser Trail to the Copper Mine Trail to get back to where I parked, just to mix it up a little. It doesn't add a lot of miles. We'll look at that map in just a second. But wow, I was kind of stabbing in the dark to do a Appalachian Trail hike today that I could get to with the time I had available and the location I was needing to go to. Well, I'll tell you what, if you do this in the leafless season, you'll be glad you did. And when the leaves are out, this Mount Mohican, which is this marked by this rock pile here, has got some great, almost 360-degree views. The Yards Creek Power Station project here, where they basically make electricity from falling water. You can't see the upper lake from here. It's way back there. Actually probably almost as high up as where I'm standing, at least the dam is. So I won't be able to show that, but pump storage is basically at night when there isn't a lot of electricity demand. They will pump water to a lake that's up on a mountaintop to consume excess electricity that's being generated that nobody's using. The only way you can store electricity is to turn it into some other form of potential energy and then release it when you need it. So that's what they do. They pump it up the mountain, and then as the day goes on and the demand increases, they run that water down the mountain underground through a turbine to make electricity to help even out the higher demand part of the day, especially in the summertime when there's much higher demand on hot days. So we'll pause for a minute and just take a look at our map, and then we'll head back. So without doing what I did along the way, you could get up here, I don't know, an hour and a half hike. It took me 2.5, but I was stopping a lot. But there's no real elevation gain, a few hundred feet. So the Mohican Outdoor Center, run by the AMC, is right here according to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy's digital map, mile 1299. There's some parking there, roadside parking mostly, that I could find. I think at the AMC facility itself there's more parking. I don't know if you're allowed to use it though. Southbound. This first overlook, that's the one I kind of scrambled to go find, and there was another one after that, but it wasn't that good. So I was assuming the rest of them wouldn't be spectacular either. Went a mile to 1298, and then right before this next camera symbol is where the views got great, and they continued that way all the way to this black line, which is the Kaiser Trail, and it comes up from the Delaware River itself. Those maps are available from the National Park Service, Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. I printed those off, but I'm not using them right now. And then the views were still pretty good through the trees all the way up to Mount Mohican here, which is just like 2.5 miles from the starting point. So I'm going to loop back this way. It doesn't add a lot of miles. This is called the Kaiser Trail, and this is called the Copper Mine Trail. And I can do that and still make my time commitments, and probably walk faster on a trail where there's less rocks and kind of less for me to look at to want to stop and record, so I can actually get my miles in. So what a great hike. I can't say enough about it. I didn't even know how good it was. The reviews I saw looked okay. Nobody was really using a lot of exclamation points. But if you come up here this time of year, you're going to be glad you did.